November 23rd to see their multi-year historic preservation effort in action, in addition to the always breathtaking home itself. Fallingwater is offering free tours for Fayette County residents on Sunday, November 23rd. Book your free tour of Fallingwater in advance by calling 724-329-8501. Fallingwater's Preservation in Action tours will take place between 9:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. Be sure to make your reservation in advance and don't miss your chance to witness this once-in-a-lifetime preservation tour of Frank Lloyd Wright's Fallingwater.
Tune in to WMBS Saturday mornings at 8:20 for Your Financial Future with Gary Boatman, certified financial planner, investment advisory representative, syndicated columnist, and author, as he addresses such income issues as planning for retirement, future healthcare expenses, avoiding financial pitfalls, and much more. That's Your Financial Future with Gary Boatman, Saturday mornings at 8:20 right here on WMBS, or Gary Boatman welcomes your calls at 724-243-3075. That's 724-243-3075. Attention Medicare eligible recipients. The Medicare open enrollment period for 2026 runs from October 15th until December 7th. This is the time to call local agent Brenda Myers at 724-437-7255 and let her show you the various Medicare Advantage plans and Part D prescription drug plans and see which best fits your current healthcare needs and your budget. Brenda will also update you on the changes for 2026 and how they will affect you. With many years' experience, Brenda Myers can help you decide which plan will work best for you. Brenda Myers has been helping Medicare beneficiaries with their health care insurance for many years and represents a variety of companies to offer you more choices. This open enrollment period is your opportunity to make changes to your health care plan and save money. Call Brenda Myers today at 724-437-7255. That's 724-437-7255 for Brenda Myers.
Welcome back to the third hour. I guess it's not welcome back. We're just getting back. So welcome to the third hour of the Afternoon Drive Show on your local station, WMBS Uniontown. I'm Doug Saltzman. That's Nick Barczyk joining here. We're with you tonight until 8 o'clock. Of course, another the fifth game of the World Series tonight. And of course, the series is tied 2-2. It's down to best out of three as it, of course, it stays now in L.A.
L.A. tonight.
And then definitely we'll have to move on back to Toronto. And the Blue Jays tied it up last night following an amazing game. I lost sleep over it. I don't think I'm caught up yet, watching 18 innings till 3 in the morning.
It was worth it, though, I think.
And waiting for that opportunity to see a position player pitch, but that never happened. Never happened in the World Series. Maybe it did back in the day, but it didn't happen this year. Joining us, who better to talk about that than the one, the only, the Pirate for Life, Steve Blass. Steve, thanks for joining Nick and me. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to seeing the who's going to win 4 games out of 8.
Yeah,
instead of 4 games out of 7.
Yeah, no, I didn't think of it that way. That's right. It was something. I at one point it was the 12th inning. I said, I'm staying up until this game's over. I'm not going to deal out. And in fact, I made sure I didn't lay down on the couch because I knew I'd clunk right out if I did that. But it was fascinating to watch, and it got to the point that I guess the Dodgers were going to bring in Yamamoto to pitch, even though he had just pitched a complete game 2 days earlier. That's stuff from back in the good old days of baseball, to have somebody be able to pull off something like that. Correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's just really crazy that a World Series game with so much on the line goes 18 innings. I thought Dave Roberts, manager of the Dodgers, would maybe come out and throw an inning or two. It was just crazy. I lasted through the 10th inning, and then I gave up the ship. It's just another great chapter of what can happen in baseball. It can happen in a moment, or it can take another complete baseball game, another 9 innings for it to be determined. And then on the other side, last night we find out that Ohtani is human. We thought
I didn't think he was until last night. Yeah.
Well, he wasn't until last night. But the old saying is, what you do in a given game or a given 2 games is phenomenal. It can be incredible, memorable. But you know what? It also has also held true that you got to do great things for a number of years to be positioned in the line of greatest player of all time. So he is a phenomenon. There's no doubt about that. But you want to see what happens throughout a career in the big leagues, because the great ones have done it for a lot of years, and he is certainly capable of doing that. He is fascinating to watch. We've not seen anybody like him recently.
Oh, you're right, Steve. And just to expound on that, I mean, back when you were pitching, could you have fathomed also pitching a complete game in the World Series, striking out 10 guys and then hitting 3 home runs in a game? I mean, it's just what he's doing is remarkable. And how do you explain what he's able to do? How is he this good at both facets of the game?
And beyond that, how is it only one person that can manage to pitch and hit in baseball? It doesn't happen
and
anymore.
Do both extraordinarily well.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's a phenomenon. He is such a gifted athlete, and you start with that as a foundation. He's so gifted that he can do both of those things. Be an athlete that can pitch and can hit. There have been pitchers who are good hitters for pitchers, but this guy is he's a phenomenal hitter. I think that takes precedent over the two qualities, but to be able to pitch also. But he is a dynamic hitter. You look at that game, that 18-inning game, he's 4 for 4, 2 doubles, 2 home runs, and then they walk him 5 times.
Yeah.
I mean, who gets that kind of respect? And who can who can put together, forget about the pitching for a minute, 3 home runs in a game, and then come back and do 2 more the next night. It's incredible. We've not seen anything like that, and I don't think we'll ever see. You can't say never, but in my mind, I don't think we'll ever see anything like that for a performance from a guy for what he did for a couple nights.
Yeah, it was remarkable, Steve. And you mentioned those intentional walks, and the fans were upset at the stadium, and so were the fans on TV. Do you think that they should maybe do something about that baseball? Should they limit intentional walks, if not for the regular season and the postseason? Or do you think that's just valid strategy?
No, I think baseball is a game of strategy. Don't you think we've changed enough in the game recently? Yeah, I think, I've made a list 4 years ago. I honestly, and I'm looking at it right now in my office, of 25 things that I'm not crazy about in baseball right now. and one of them is the intentional walk has gone away. They just wave him down to first base. I remember Johnny Bench being involved either as a catcher or a hitter. They were delivering an intentional walk, and either Bench hit it or they gave it up. The guy hit a double, because the ball was close enough. The guy took a wild swing, and baseball is a game of stories. I don't want them to sanitize it to the point where we're not going to see anything unusual happen. So I'm going sideways on that. But the intentional walk and a lot of other things, baseball has been pretty darn good for 100 years. So you don't have to change everything.
Right. I don't think you're going sideways at all. Roberto Clemente reached across the plate one time and hit a double down the right field line.
There you go.
On an intentional walk. Of course, it was part of those rules to speed up the game. And all I could think of while watching that game, thank heavens they don't put a runner on second base in the playoffs.
That would be absurd.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It shouldn't be on second base. Yeah,
that's high school baseball.
Well, even younger than that. When we were kids, we never had enough players, 18 to get, so we always had an intentional runner. We would call it an invisible runner out there because we didn't have 18 people to play when we were playing pickup games in our neighborhood. That's what it reminds me of, how silly that is. Yeah.
But, and did I see an umpire say when a pitcher threw over to first base once and he gave a signal 1, so that rule is still in place. You can only throw over there twice.
Apparently, isn't
what's going to happen after a second throw? You won't, as a pitcher, you don't dare throw over a second time, because what's the guy going to do? He's going to take his lead off halfway to second base.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
I mean, yeah. Now the only one I'm okay with the pitch clock, because it keeps the fans in the flow of the game rather than all the stop and start stuff. I'm okay with that. From a personal viewpoint, that would have been a distraction for me, because I always work very quickly, because I thought maybe I could disrupt the routine of the batter. But from a fan standpoint, I'm okay with a pitch clock. The other stuff, I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah, the one thing that was interesting too, that John Schneider, of course, the manager of the Blue Jays, was asked if he think there should be a rule limiting teams to issuing one intentional walk per player per game, following up on Nick's question, and then he said,
Part of the game.
Yeah,
part of the game.
He said intentional walks are part of the game. That's exactly what he said. And then he said, well, maybe there should be a rule that if you're a starting pitcher and you're done pitching, you can't hit. So because it's the special Ohtani rule, it literally applies to one person in the entire sport.
I'm okay with if he's pitching, they take him out of the game. He's done for the night. I would applaud that. And that is the way it used to be, but now they've made a special rule for him.
Yeah, the closest thing I can think, I remember Jim Leyland years ago when he was managing in Detroit complained that during a World Series, the National League had a clear advantage because they had to put pitchers in to hit, which they never do in the American League. And back then, of course, it was DH was allowed in the American League cities, but not in the National League cities. And I remember Jim Leyland saying, "This isn't fair," and this is the
you got to have
closest
it
thing I
one
can
way or the
compare
other.
to.
And you got to understand that baseball is unique in that it has 162 games. So you don't have to change a lot of stuff because you know what, you're going to get some calls and you're going to lose some calls. You're going to get, and I think because of the length of the game, it's going to even out. I think in the big picture, you'll get some and you'll lose some. So that's the way it works. It's an imperfect game played by imperfect people, and that's kind of what draws us to it. It's like us.
Yeah, you're right about that. And the Dodgers are so loaded. Do you remember a team they could lose the series, but you just look at that lineup, they're just loaded. The pitching rotation is loaded. Do you remember a team, the Big Red Machine, your Pirates team, Steve, that was as dominant as this Dodger team looks to be?
Well, I'll tell you about a team I pitched against in the playoffs in '71, the San Francisco Giants. All right, you got Bobby Bonds leading off. You got McCovey, Mays, Cepeda, Jim Ray Hart. You want to pitch against that group? Jimmy Davenport, Jack Hyatt. I don't think so. Didn't work out for me, for sure. So, yeah, the Giants were tough. Yeah, Big Red Machine with the hitting they had. Pete Rose said that the decade of the 70s belonged to the Pirates and the Reds, and it was the best brand of baseball he ever saw, and he knows baseball regardless of what you think of him. And the Big Red Machine, they had Don Gullett, they had Jack Billingham, they had Gary Nolan, they had some pitching, and we had some pitching. So, that was a pretty good brand of baseball too. But the Giants were strong, the Reds were strong. In the 70s, it wasn't much fun to pitch to some of those guys. Go down to Atlanta and take a shot at Henry Aaron and his buddies.
My brother Dave and I were watching the game. We were talking about it seems some of the basics in baseball. Players can't slide anymore. They don't know how to slide. And we were joking, my gosh, the greatest player perhaps ever, certainly the best player right now, Ohtani, let go of the base. He slid over the base and got called out.
There was never over sliding back in the day. I will agree with you. The sliding is awkward. I'm not a big fan of the base running this day and age. And when I talk about the Pirates, I think of that. I want better scouting, and I want not only that, but I want player development. So when these guys get to the big leagues, they know how to run the bases. They know how to slide. There's a lot of things that, I'm an old dinosaur. I go back to a lot of things that I grew up with and played in. But it was pretty darn good.
Yeah. Nick, I'm close to your age. Nick is not, and we're dinosaurs too when it comes to baseball.
I am, yeah.
I always joke, I don't like interleague play for heaven's sakes. Nick always
forget
jokes
the DH, yeah.
Nick always jokes with me about that one as we talk to the great.
I don't think Doug likes night games even.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Let me tell you about, didn't we grow up watching the World Series and at the end of school, riding your bike home or running home to watch or listen to the last 3 innings of the game? Why did we? And we in Pittsburgh started the night World Series games. That was part of our autumn. That's how we grew up. You ran home to get the last 3 innings. I did that to get home for Don Larson's perfect game, in which the pitch that ended it was a foot outside, and the umpire said, "I'm not going to mess this up." Don Larson's perfect game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting when you say that about. I remember in 1971, I was in St. Elizabeth Elementary School in Baldwin, and they played the World Series games over the PA system during class. So we
There you
could hear
go.
it. I don't think the teachers were too thrilled about it, but they were probably listening to the game too.
Yeah, well, we had pitchers that would write the. They had a regular grid up on the thing, inning by inning. They put the top of the fourth 0. We had teachers that would keep a line score of the game because there were World Series games. That was our autumn.
Yeah, that's right. I remember teaching my nephew how to score a game. I said, every guy should know how to score a game.
I agree.
Let's go through this one. I still score them. I'll sit on my back deck and score a game.
Yeah.
People think I'm nuts for doing that, but I've got games from years and years and years that I've scored over the years. And I don't always agree
you're
with
not.
the official of the game calling whether it's an error or not. I'll make my own determination.
Oh, is that right?
yeah.
There you go. Yeah, and
Right,
that's part of it. The stories and all that.
But going back to the two complete games in the playoffs, especially a complete game in the World Series, it's just not hurt. I mean, you'll have the last ever, Game 7 complete game. My gosh, nowadays by Game 7, sometimes they start relievers, which is exasperating to watch. But to see that happen again is like the good old days.
Well, you never know about Yamamoto.
Yeah.
But I'm very proud of that. When you break it all down, by the time if you're a starter and you're winning in the seventh inning, you're not tired anymore. The adrenaline is going to take you for a couple of innings. To be honest, I don't. So they're capable. It breaks my heart that Skeens at 6'4", 230 pitches 5 innings. I want to throw things at the TV set. I went through 3 TV sets this past summer.
you pitch 6 innings and it's considered a quality start.
Yeah.
Well, Well, you can pitch 6 innings, give up 3 runs. That's a 4.50 ERA. Back in the day, you'd have been back at the minor leagues with a 4.50.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different world, that's for sure.
But you know what? Baseball is such a good game. It survives all of this because the darn game is so darn good.
Exactly.
We've been talking with Steve Blass about the Major League Baseball playoffs, the World Series, of course. It's exciting to watch. We're down to a best of 3 at this point, and
let's hope we get a Game 7.
Yeah, let's hope it's great to see that right up to the very end. Steve, thanks so much. I know you don't have to do these interviews, and we sure do appreciate your taking time to join us here. We're proud of our affiliation with the Pirates. We've been
goes back to Honus Wagner, I think. No, not that quite.
Well, it goes back to I think the 50s. From what we can tell. The records aren't that great, but we certainly aired the 1960 World Series on this station.
We did,
and we've been an affiliate for a long, long time. Steve, thanks so much.
Yeah, well, I always enjoy the visit, guys.
Well,
really, I do. Thanks for calling.
Thanks, Steve. You're the best, buddy. Thank you.
I think he means that. He does enjoy talking to us.
Absolutely.
Holy cow.
We just talked to a guy who won Game 7 of the World Series on a complete game and was a great announcer and an even better person than all that.
And a pirate
for life. And a baseball guy for life. He loves the game.
Yeah,
just
he
loves it.
And that's why he hates to see changes that aren't needed.
True.
Putting a guy on second base in extra innings. Ridiculous.
I get it. For the regular season, I get it. For the playoffs, no.
You know what rule I learned?
Because they just don't want 18-inning games in the regular season because people are just not going to stick around for that. You might because
then hit better.
But that's not the viewer's prerogative or issue.
I guess so.
Yeah,
I did learn a rule I did not know existed, and I texted you this during the game.
Yes, I ignored it because I didn't want to know anything about the game that night.
Oh.
But when I got home, it was still on. Yeah, I read the text.
Oh, that's what you were. Yeah, if a batter, say, gets injured during his at-bat, and he has 1 strike against him, if the guy who comes in to replace him at bat strikes out, getting 2 more strikes, the strikeout is against him.
Exactly.
But if the original batter has 2 strikes on him,
it's on him, yeah.
And the next guy strikes out, it's on the original batter. I'd never heard that
Same thing
rule.
works for pitchers with strikeouts.
Is that how it is? The same thing? I never knew that rule for batters. I know how it applied to pitching, but maybe I don't know about baseball as much as I thought.
Well, I mean, that's an arcane rule.
Yeah, how often does somebody leave an at-bat in the middle of the at-bat?
It doesn't happen often. If you foul a ball off your foot or get a cramp out of nowhere, maybe, but yeah.
Rub it out. Rub some dirt in it. Take a lap.
Yeah, you're fine. Come on.
Coming up, we're going to change topics, talk more politics. As you might guess, we're a week away from the general election. We're going to talk to a good friend of the show's, Dick Jewell, business and community leader here in Pennsylvania, also a political commentator. We'll talk to him. But first, this is the late edition of the Afternoon Drive Show on WMBS.
Zen's Antiques and Home Decor, part of the Cinder Shack family of vendors, where you can find both antique and new furniture, collectibles, housewares, gift items including jewelry and candles, and so much more. Follow Zen's Antiques and Home Decor on Facebook for new items and information on upcoming events. Zen's Antiques and Home Decor in Building 2 at 3391 National Pike in Farmington. Zen's Antiques and Home Decor.
Say hello to fall. Your flair, your way. Strat, 34 South Street in downtown Uniontown, located in the State Farm Building rear. We're known for our distinguished Western, Southwest, and boho accessories, including custom and concealed carry handbags, but we offer a large variety of fashionable styles. And just refreshed for fall, we have an amazing selection of spiny oyster, turquoise, nickel silver, copper, and gemstone fun fashion jewelry. And we're so excited to bring you affordable indulgence. 24% lead crystals wrapped in tarnish-free silver and gold wire for enhanced clarity, brilliance, and sparkle. These bracelets, pendants, earrings, and bands are stunning and show-stopping, to say the least. Strat, 34 South Street in downtown Uniontown, 724-557-6184. Open Tuesday through Friday, 11 to 5. Not high-end, just nice-end. Strat, you're sure to adore us, and you'll love our prices.
At what point did everything change? When did service get taken out of service industries? It's too bad, because people are busy these days. At life, at work, at play. When it comes to your hard-earned money, you want service. Real service. From a person you know and a face you trust. At a bank where changing with the times doesn't mean leaving people behind. We're proud to be a part of your community. We're United Bank, at your service.
Concerned about your heart health? At WVU Medicine, we believe your heart deserves world-class care, close to home and always within reach. Our non-invasive cardiology team uses advanced tests like stress tests and cardiac MRI to diagnose and monitor heart conditions without surgery. Call 877-WVU, the number 4HRT, or visit wvumedicine.org/heart.
Route 21 Furniture, take the road to your perfect home.
Sleep well tonight. Try out a new mattress from Route 21 Furniture with a large selection of mattresses, all sizes and comfort levels, with great prices, free local delivery and setup, and financing options. Route 21 Furniture. Open weekdays 9 to 5, Saturday 10 to 5, Sunday noon to 4. 724-737-2222 or Route21Furniture.com.
Route 21 Furniture, take the road to your perfect home.
Now, you don't have to travel too far for medical marijuana products. Go to Local Leaf in Scottdale for a wide variety of locally grown and locally sourced products, plus your questions answered on medical marijuana, qualifying medical conditions, or how to register for your medical card. Local Leaf by PHG off Route 119 in Scottdale, 412-417-4964. Online at localleafpa.com. Local Leaf, your medical marijuana dispensary with locally grown and locally sourced products in Scottdale.
That's the Rolling Stones, of course, who once played at the Westview Park Dance Hall back in the day. $3.75 was the ticket price for that. I saw a photo of that ticket. When I went to see the Stones at Heinz Field several years back, my ticket was $375. So, yeah, I guess it was within range, I suppose.
Yeah.
We're getting to our next guest a little bit late, but, you know, if you're going to be late getting to a guest, I don't think he'll mind if he got bumped back a little because our previous interview was with Steve Blass. So, you know, that's not bad to get bumped because of Steve Blass. And joining us right now on the WVU Medicine Uniontown Hospital Talk Line, business and community leader here in Pennsylvania, political commentator Dick Jewell. Dick, are you okay the fact that our interview with Steve Blass went a little long?
No, yes, I understand too. I've heard Blass tell stories. He's the best.
He is. We were talking to him about Ohtani, but Nick, help me here. Yamamoto pitching 2 complete games, and that doesn't happen much anymore in the playoffs.
No, that's for sure. It doesn't happen anytime.
Yeah, you're right. And Steve Blass did it in Game 7 in 1971.
Right, right.
But, it rarely happens. These 2 pitchers anymore, Ohtani too, just absolutely amazing pitchers. Probably once in a lifetime, not just a generation, but these guys are absolutely amazing. Well, we can talk baseball if you want, but we can talk a general election next week. It's a week away. Unfortunately, this is the year when we have to report on the poor voter turnout, sadly, on these off-year elections. But this one's getting a lot of attention this year. It's a first in my political career of seeing so much attention being paid to retention elections for any judge, let alone 3 Supreme Court judges at the same time up for their 10-year retention vote. I've never seen anything like this effort to knock them out or keep them in office.
Well, we had it once before. Now, remember, the ability to retain or not retain a judge after his or her initial 10-year term was written into the 1968 Constitution.
Right.
The last time the convention met and appreciably changed a lot of the tenets of our Commonwealth democracy. And consequently, in the early days of that, and you'd have to get into the 70s for this to happen, I'm using my recollection here, but there were 2 or 3 common pleas court judges that got not retained, and they had gotten on the quote-unquote wrong side of a property tax issue. In other words, they had voted to uphold something that was going to permit some kind of property tax increase, and folks didn't like it, and they lost their ability to remain as common pleas court judges. And I think 1 or 2 at the common pleas court level who'd been accused of some kinds of moral turpitude, but not a crime, but kind of lifestyles that were questionable, that they lost out. However, in 2005, Doug, we had a real active recall of 2 Supreme Court justices that were up that year. And that was Russell Nigro, Justice Nigro, and Sandra Schultz Newman. Sandy was up for a retention for the first time. She had served 2 years on Commonwealth Court and then had gone up to the Supreme Court in 95, so it's 205. And the issue there was the Supreme Court upholding and stopping the attacks on that famous midnight pay raise.
Oh, the famous pay raise, sure. That's
that state legislature had granted themselves and judges, at 3 a.m. sometime in July, and that caused a tremendous rhubarb. So that fight wound up. Newman was retained, and Tom Ridge, who was then Secretary of Homeland Security, he cut a commercial on her behalf, which actually helped quite a bit. That was still close. She almost was not retained.
A Philadelphia Republican, which is unheard of, frankly, when he...
right.
Sandra,
I knew Sandra very well, and she was a D, an I, and an R. I mean, she was pretty universal to everybody. Back in the days, you could be more like that.
Right.
A little bit harder today.
When that pay raise went in, middle of the night pay raise, it knocked out a good part of the General Assembly who lost their, including, the President Pro Tem of the Senate, Bob Jubelier, lost his job because of it. 1,000 judges, members of Governor Rendell's cabinet got pay raises. And you're right, Nigro was the one that lost close, 51-49. He was knocked out. Sandra Schultz Newman was retained, I think 54%, something like that.
Right.
That was close.
So we've seen this before, but it is rare. And what is interesting, and there's a lot of money on both sides. Obviously, labor unions in the trial, judges associations, plaintiffs' lawyers are supporting the retention, and more conservative forces and money are opposing it, really because of, in part, the perceived rulings of that court on Act 77, the various changes that were made to the voting law in part because of COVID, and not deemed to be favorable toward the conservative side or the Trump side. and so that it's gotten attention, across the country. What's going on here, and if one or two or three should not be retained, and I'm not predicting that, and I think it's up in the air. What happens is they get to serve out their term, which ends in December, at the end of December. At that point, Governor Shapiro then would nominate one, two, or three, depending how many were not retained. I'm not saying anybody would not be retained either way, but if whoever's not retained, he gets to name that person. But that is subject to advice and consent and a vote of the Republican State Senate. And it's likely, I would say, I can't predict it, but it's likely that he would not, the Senate would not vote to agree with the appointment of whoever that person is. And so you'd have an open seat or two or three on the Supreme Court until the municipal elections next stated, and that is actually in 2027.
Right.
And at that point, you'd wind up having open seats, and you'd have primaries, and it'd be the no more appointment by the governor. It would be an election
Let me ask you
process.
Yeah, let me ask your opinion about something, Dick. What I find fascinating, I'll use an example. It might sound strange. When of course, LBJ became president following the assassination of Jack Kennedy.
Mr. Kennedy.
Yeah,
Yep.
he was able to run for re-election in '68 because he came in with less than 2 years left in Kennedy's term. So he served the 4 years, then he could serve, because he can only serve the most 10 years as a president. So you, for instance, Gerald Ford.
Well, that's not in the Constitution. That's right. He had less than
less than 2
a year
years
to serve.
Yeah. Right. So
less than that.
But for instance, Gerald Ford, he could not have run had he won in '76. He couldn't have run in '80 because he served more than 2 years of the final term of Richard Nixon. So I'm using that as a weird example to talk about the Supreme Court justice races. One of the justices who's up for retention, Christine Donahue, can only serve 2 years because she'll be at the mandatory retirement age. So should a judge even be permitted to run, in your opinion, if they can't finish the term? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, it probably makes no sense, but it makes legal sense. In other words, until the state legislature, through amendment to the Constitution, would change that, that's what the law is, and that person has every right to continue.
Oh, yeah, it's
until
legal.
They can't.
It just seems strange to me.
Yep. No, that's the effect of it.
Yeah, and no one should be able to run for something they can't finish the term of, in my opinion. But that's
well, now think if the term's 10 years, and they could serve 9 of those 10.
Right.
You see where you go with this.
Yeah. How do you stop?
That seems reasonable.
If you can serve at least 75% of the term or something. But you're right. It would take an amendment to the state constitution, which is not a simple process. The last one, of course, happened during the Wolf administration when they changed the way a governor can call an emergency declaration. That was related to COVID. And hopefully we don't have such an incident again anytime soon. As we talk to business and community leader throughout the state, throughout the nation, and political commentator Dick Jewell, well known just about everywhere. Let me. I wanted to ask another question too. As we look at the at this general election, and sadly, we're going to report on the days after the election how low the voter turnout is, and that's very sad. If any elections, directly impact people, it's local elections, the township commissioners and supervisors, and borough council, school board, for heaven's sakes. And I remember many years ago writing a paper in high school about the Constitutional Convention in the late '60s, and I actually spoke to a friend of mine's father, who you would have known, of course, Francis Berry, who was a common pleas court judge in Allegheny County. He was on that. He was a delegate to that convention, and he's the one that proposed the Commonwealth Court be created. He actually served on it later.
Yes, he did.
And I asked him. I said, and your thought, it's a pretty bright question for a high school kid. I don't know how I came up with it, frankly. But I said, do you think that the state row offices, and at the time, of course, the attorney general was appointed by the governor, but then he became elected, he or she became elected. I said, should those races have been in odd numbered years so it would bring out more people to vote? Again, I don't know how I came up with such a smart question for a kid.
Right.
And he said, yes, in hindsight, we should have done that. Because right now, those state row offices get so lumped in and hidden by the presidential race. They run every 4 years when the presidential race is up. Do you agree that should have been done? Those races should happen in odd number of years to bring out more attendance?
Yep. That should have been done. But we are a nation of free choice.
Right.
In other words, you have your choice whether you're going to vote or not, notwithstanding you may be eligible to vote, and you're going to vote what interests you. Some countries pay people to vote, small amount. They get some money to vote. They get the day off. It's a national day. Or in some countries, they're required to vote. It's a legal obligation. But we continue in this country, and I think it's tradition with us to have a great deal of free choice.
Right, exactly.
So that's a consequence, if you will, of that free choice.
And rightfully so. It's not easy to change the Constitution. It's not up to the legislature. It's not up to just the voters. The legislature has to vote in first. Then they have to vote it again in another term of the General Assembly, and then it goes before the voters. And, of course, it doesn't happen all that often. I think the last U.S. constitutional amendment dealt with when Congress can vote themselves a pay raise. And before that, I think it was the voting age going from 21 to 18. So it doesn't happen a whole lot, either at the federal or the state level.
No, the framers intended it that way. So you could not take the ship of state and steer it hard right or hard left immediately.
Right.
And those are directions, but not necessarily philosophies. But I'm just saying directions.
Or changing the size of Congress or the General Assembly is not a simple process. Or the Supreme Court. I mean, there was one talk that Obama was looking to pack the Supreme Court. My gosh, FDR, who was one of the most popular presidents ever, got rejected when he wanted to expand the Supreme Court. These things don't happen easily.
A simple act of Congress, to change the numbers of the Supreme Court and to change the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court or any of the inferior courts. That is under the Constitution. The Article 1 is President, Article 2 is the legislature, but they had the duty and obligation to create, to change, and to mold Article 3, the court system.
Yeah. Last question for you, Dick, before we wrap things up before the news at the top of the hour. The registration edge in Pennsylvania has gone through an incredible change. Just 10 years ago.
Unbelievable.
Just 10 years ago, there were 1 million more Democrats registered to vote in Pennsylvania than Republicans. It's basically 50-50 now. I think there's 26,000 more Democrats registered in the state, which is basically, when you're talking about millions upon millions, that's dead even. That's a remarkable shift in Pennsylvania. And Fayette County, where our radio station is located here, is an example of that. There was a time when a Republican couldn't have gotten elected in the state. Back in the days of Bill Lincoln, he'd be shocked now. Somebody once told me that he's probably turning over in his grave, the fact that this county has...
Westmoreland County, too.
Same thing, absolutely. But how do you make... That's a remarkable... This is not just a voter change of 100,000. This is 1 million different people have changed their vote, and a lot more independents now. But to have it that close in Pennsylvania in just 10 years is rather amazing.
Well, 10 years is the era of Trump.
Right.
And you have to go back to the... Tea Party revolution, I'll call it, in 2010. And we're talking about 15 years. I date it back to 15 years when a lot more people got interested in what was going on with their money and what was going on. And consequently, you had people that they didn't act, they reacted, became more reactionary. And then Trump had just captured that feeling. Philosophical feeling, unbelievable. I mean, it's even now. Some jaded Democrats in the dark of night will shake their head and say, "This is unbelievable what he's done and been able to do in reshaping the electorate."
And he made a pretty strong statement, considering Trump at times people thought he would try to run for a third term. But he said, it looks like I can't run for a third term. I was surprised he came out and actually said it. I mean, it's clear he cannot. Even Speaker Johnson said it. As soon as this general election's done, man, the race for president is going to kick in very quickly.
No doubt about it.
And especially
the Democratic side will be really interesting.
Yeah, there's clearly no front runner.
Right.
At Kamala Harris, of course, who has been very critical of the party and how it handled things in her memoirs. Yep. Good heavens.
No doubt about
it. So it's going to be rather interesting.
I would say on the R side, I mean, right now, Vance is pretty far out in front early on. I just saw these numbers in the last day. And then I'd say Marco Rubio. I know Rubio. I've been with him. I've done some events for him. I like him a lot. And I like Vance a lot, too. I think Republican Party will have a lot of interesting, talented people that may have approaches similar to Trump, but will have a little finer buffing to their approach.
That's a good way to put it. A finer buffing. That's a good way to put that.
Having said that, though, people who in the first term couldn't stand the guy have become to understand him a little bit better and are more accepting of that stylistic approach that he takes because they like the policies. As a general proposition.
A buddy of mine who's a very liberal Democrat says, Trump's nuts, but man, he gets things done. That's how he said. He thinks that's a very common opinion of our own Democrats. That
I mean, the last 9 months, 10 months, nobody's seen anything like this except the first 100 days of FDR.
FDR, same thing. Yeah, you've mentioned that before. Dick, as always, we wish we had more time with you, but we're coming up on a hard break here for some.
Okay, Doug.
Dick, thanks
so much. Good to be with all your listeners.
All righty, you have a good evening.
You bet. Good night.
Dick Jewell knows his stuff. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
When you are looking to make some extra cash for your aluminum cans, visit Cherokee Recycling, where aluminum can is king. Cherokee Recycling is open Monday through Friday 9 to 4:30 and Saturdays 8 to 12 noon, closed Sundays and holidays. Give Marcus or Braggs a call today, 724-439-3228 for Cherokee Recycling, where recycling makes the most sense.
439-2323 for 24-hour emergency service. Call us when you need. We're Fayette's Heating and Air Conditioning, your service company.
Be prepared for bone-chilling winter weather. Have Fayette Heating and Air Conditioning install a Bryant high-efficiency furnace in your home to replace that old worn-out system you now have. Choose Bryant's Plus 90 gas furnace or other quality heating system to keep yourself and your family warm and toasty this winter. Fayette Heating and Air Conditioning will also keep your present furnace running at peak efficiency with their